Ever tried to set up a home theater, only to find that the receiver you thought was a miracle on the product page ends up sounding flat? The speakers just sit there, and you're left with a half-finished movie night? I've been there, spending hours scrolling through glossy images, reading specs that sound impressive, and then realizing after the first movie that the system just doesn't deliver the fullness you imagined. If you've ever hesitated at the checkout because you're not sure whether a 7.2 channel receiver and a set of high-end floor standers will actually work together in your living room, keep listening. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The ONKYO TX NR6100 comes paired with two Klipsch reference Premier RP8000 FI speakers, and on paper that looks like a serious upgrade from a standard TiV speaker combo. The receiver itself boasts a THX Select certified 210 watts per channel, Dolby Atmos and DTS support, and HDMI 2.1 with 8K capability. Those are the kind of headline numbers that make you think you're getting cinema-grade sound without the heavy price tag. But the real question isn't how many watts does it have. It's how does it behave once you actually plug it in, stream a few movies, and maybe throw a sports game on the big screen. First, let's talk about the setup experience. The TX NR6100 has a fairly clean rear panel, 3 HDMI 2.1 inputs that can handle up to 40 gigabits per second, a HDMI ARC port for your TV, and a set of pre-outs for the Klipsch speakers. When you pull the box out of the shipping crate, the connectors are clearly labeled, and the on-screen menu walks you through the basic auto-calibration. I ran the ONKYO mic for the room EQ feature, the one that plays a test tone from each speaker. The calibration process took about 10 minutes, and the results are displayed as a simple bar graph, no cryptic numbers to decode. For a first-time AV receiver owner, that simplicity is a real time saver. Now, the day-to-day use. I have a 65-inch 4K TV, a Roku streaming stick, and a couple of Blu-ray discs in my rotation. I connected the TV via HDMI ARC, plugged the Roku into one of the HDMI 2.1 inputs, and routed the front left and right to the RP8000 FIs. I also set up a rear pair of bookshelf speakers that came with a cheaper bundle I own because the receiver supports 7.2 channels. I could experiment with both configurations. When I launched a Netflix thriller, the Atmos tracks kicked in automatically. The difference you hear isn't just louder. The ceiling reflected overhead effects actually moved around the room, making a helicopter scene feel like the rotors were passing above you, not just a static hiss. That said, there are a few practical trade-offs to be aware of. The 210 watts per channel is measured under THX conditions, essentially a controlled test where each channel is driven at its maximum while the others sit idle. In a real living room with two massive 12-inch Klipsch drivers in each floor stander, you may find the receiver working hard to keep volume levels up in larger spaces. A few reviewers have noted that in rooms larger than 300 square feet, pushing past 85 dB can cause the receiver's built-in limiter to engage, subtly compressing dynamics. If you're planning a dedicated home theater room or have high ceilings, consider adding a small external amplifier or two to give those giants a bit more headroom. Another nuance. The TX NR6100's Dolby Atmos implementation works best when you have height speakers or upward-firing modules. The RP8000 FI pair provides incredible main-channel impact, booming lows, crisp highs, and that signature Klipsch horn-loaded tweeter that really shines on dialogue. But without dedicated height speakers, you'll be relying on virtual height processing, which is decent but not a true replacement for a full 5.1.2 or 7.1.2 setup. If your budget is already stretched by the two Klipsch floor standers, you might be better off buying a more modest receiver and allocating some of that cash toward a pair of Dolby-enabled height speakers later. Who should buy this bundle? If you're a movie enthusiast who already has a decent screen and wants to step up from a TV's built-in speakers without diving into a full 5.1.2 or 7.1.2 configuration, this is a solid entry point. The THX certification means you'll get a clean, accurate signal, and the Klipsch floor standers deliver that forward-facing, big room sound that fills a medium-sized living space nicely. The receiver's HDMI 2.1 support also future-proofs your setup if you plan to upgrade to a next-gen console that pushes 4K 120Hz or even an 8K source. The built-in Zone 2 audio-video capability is handy if you want to run a secondary TV in another room without buying a second receiver. Who should skip it? If you live in a tight apartment, or your primary listening area is under 150 square feet, those 12-inch drivers may overwhelm the space, and the powerful 210 watts per channel could be overkill. In that case, a more compact 5.1 system or a soundbar with built-in Atmos might be a better match. Also, if you already own a high-end multi-amp system, the integrated amplification here might feel limiting. The